Hi everybody, this is Mrs. Mancuso. We are continuing on with the August 2016 exam, and we've moved on to part B1. So, which list of elements is arranged in order of increasing electronegativity? So, electronegativity is the ability to attract an electron, and the smaller a atom is, the better. So, as we go across left to right, the electronegativity will increase, or when you go up a group, it would increase. So we got to grab our periodic table, and we got to see which one works here. So B, E, M, G, and Ca are going down, so that means the electronegativity would go down, so not that one. F, C, L, and Br also going down, so it would go down. K, Ca, and Sc. All right, this is going across, so this is going to be our answer. The table below gives the masses of two different subatomic particles. All right, so X is times 10 to the negative 24th, and Z is times 10 to the 28th. They are not the same. So this one's really small, so I'm going to say Z is an electron, and then X must be a proton or a neutron. So X proton, Z electron. There we go. Which electron configuration represents the excited state for an atom of calcium? So look up calcium. Calcium is 2882. That's what it is in the ground state. So cross that one off right away. Now, I want to make sure that I always add up to 20, because when it's excited, it has not lost or gained. It has just moved it to an outer orbital. So 2871 and 2872 both have to be wrong because those have lost. This is my answer, 2873. If I move one of them from here to here, this will go down to a 7 and that will go up to a 3. So that would be excited. All right, at standard temperature and pressure, graphite and diamond are two solid forms of carbon. Which statement explains why they differ in their hardness? They differ because they have different structures. So it's not due to the radius, it's due to their structure. All right, they're both carbon, but they just have different forms. Different structure leads to different properties. All right, which equation shows conservation of charge? So I want to draw a line right down where the arrows are, and I want to look at what I have on the left and the right. So Cu is a 0, and Ag is a +1, so I've got 1 on the left. Over here, Cu plus 2, so I have 2 on the right. That's not balanced. All right, here I have 1 magnesium, and there I have 2 magnesiums, so I know the atoms aren't even balanced. 2F2, so that's 4 Fs on this side. There's only 2 Fs on this side, so that can't be right. 2 Is, 2 Is, 2 Cls, 2 Cls, so I know my atoms are balanced. Now 2 negatives here, and this is a 0. This is a 0, and 2 minus 1s is 2 negatives. So that one is balanced both in atoms and in charges. All right. 36. What occurs when potassium reacts with chlorine to form potassium chloride? So potassium is K. It's a metal. It's a +1. Cl is a nonmetal. It's a -1. So that's an ionic bond. So it's not sharing. It's a metal with a nonmetal. So they are transferred in an ionic bond. Given this equation, what occurs as bonds are broken? All right, barf. Broken, absorbed, released, formed. So here I am breaking, so I need to absorb energy. So energy is absorbed, and 1 mole, nope, it's making 2 H's, so that's 2 moles. So energy is absorbed and 2 moles of unbonded hydrogen are formed. All right, which pair has the most polar bond? Well, when it asks about bond, I need to look up electronegativity difference. So I'm going to go to table S, and I look up the electronegativity of H is 2.2, and Br is 3.0. So the difference between this is 0.8. H with Cl, so Cl is 3.2. So 3.2 and 2.2, this one's 1.0, so I'm going to cross off choice 1. I with Br and I with Cl. So I'm looking up I, I'm flipping over. All right, 2.7. So 2.7, and then Br was 3.0, so that's going to be lower, and 2.7 and 3.2, that's going to be lower. So the most polar has the greatest electronegativity difference. It would have to be HCl. Which two notations represent isotopes of the same element? So isotopes have the same number of protons, but they have different number of neutrons. So nitrogen and nitrogen, 14 and 18, there we go. This one's nitrogen and neon. That one's nitrogen and neon. That one's nitrogen and neon. So you have to have the same element because you have to have the same number of protons. All right, which four substances has the lowest density? That means the least mass per volume. All right, so A has a lot of mass and a little volume. So A is going to be very dense, which means D is going to have the lowest density. This is the lowest mass with the highest volume. What is the total amount of heat required to completely melt 347 grams of ice? All right, I want to do my Q formula. So Q is equal to, if I'm melting, I want MHF. The heat of fusion is for melting. So now I want to do my math. So that's going to equal 347 times 337. So 337 I get from table A, or I'm sorry, table B right on the front of your, oh, it's not 337, it's 334. All right, and then I grab my calculator. 334 times 347 is equal to 115898. So that's closest to 1600. Sorry, 116,000. All right, the temperature, as the temperature of a reaction increases, it's expecting that the reacting particles collide. So if you increase the temperature, you're making these molecules move faster. So if they are, they're going to definitely collide more often. And if you increase the temperature, they're moving faster, so it's going to be with more force. Given the formula representing a compound, what's the IUPAC name? So first of all, I'm going to circle what's unique, and I'm going to go find that on table R. And when I look it up, a C in the middle of the chain with a double bonded O tells me it's a ketone. So I'm going to cross off 1 and 2 because it's not an ester. And then I want to count from the shortest side. So 1, 2, 3. 3 hexanone. 6 carbons in the chain. That's what gave me 6. All right, a voltaic cell converts chemical energy to electrical energy. So I want to cross off the nuclear. And you do not need an external power. It works all by itself. It's a spontaneous reaction. Which acid and base react to form water and sodium sulfate? So it's telling me I have an acid and a base. So I know my acid's going to start with an H. I know my base is going to end with an OH. Water is what you get when the H and the OH come together. And then the other substance is sodium. So that's Na, that's a +1. Sulfate. Sulfate is SO4. I'm getting this from table E, and it's got a -2. So a minus wants to go with this H+. So if I put H+ and SO4 with a -2 together, I get H2SO4. That's sulfuric acid. So I'm going to get rid of sulfurous acid because I can just look right on table K, and H2SO4 is sulfuric acid. All right, then I have Na. Na is a +1. I'm going to put it with OH. That's a -1. I always want to put my pluses with my minuses, and that's sodium hydroxide. There was never potassium in the issue, so potassium goes right out. Or never potassium in the question, I should say. All right, let me erase a little bit of this to have some room. All right, according to one acid-base theory, the compound NH3 acts as a base because it. So a base has 2 definitions. It either donates an OH minus or it accepts an H plus. All right, so it does not have an OH minus, so it can't be this. Great. Okay, there we go. My writing is messy. Stuff is going on the screen. Sorry about that, guys. So I do not want the donates OH minus because there's no OH minus to give. So I want accepts H plus. There it is. And if you looked at this reaction, NH3 is becoming NH4, so the arrow is going like this. So this is the acid and this is the base because it's accepting the H plus. It's a Bronsted-Lowry acid-base combination. All right, next one. Which statement describes a characteristic of a KOH solution? KOH is a metal with an OH, so that's an Arrhenius base. So it's not acidic, it's basic, and bases have a pH greater than 7. 4 statements about the development of the atomic model are shown. Which order shows the historical development? So wavelength, I want that one to come last. Small negatively charged particles, the electrons, that is over here. It's not the very first thing. Here we go. Atoms are hard, indivisible spheres. I want that to come first, and then finding a nucleus would come after. So D, B, C, A. There it is. All right, which test demonstrates chemical properties? All right, if you flatten it, that's physical. Bubbles of gas is chemical. Melting is physical, rusting is chemical, sinking is physical. So I want 2 and 4. There it is. And my last question. A rigid cylinder with a movable piston contains a sample of helium gas. The temperature is held constant as the piston is pulled outward. Which graph represents the volume and the pressure? So when you have really, first of all, this graph makes no sense. So that would mean like the volume increases as the pressure stays the same. That doesn't work. It's also not directly proportional. Here's my answer. When I have really high pressure, I'm going to have a really low volume. And when I have a really high volume, my pressure must be low. So this is inverted. That doesn't work. So my answer is choice 1. All right, so I will make another video to continue on for the rest of this exam.